Hey guys, this is Dorian Day, and welcome to Serum in Depth number 35. Today we're going to be talking about effects chain resampling. So what am I talking about? Well, I have this Serum open. I just have a saw going, and I want to add a bit crusher to it. So I open up my bit crusher. And I find a setting I like. But when I go to the high end, it sounds to start crazy and like chaotic. It doesn't have that nice ring. So we're sort of limited to just the lower range. But we can sample this and then and put it into Serum as a single cycle, and then we can keep this harmonic relationship all the way across the keyboard. And on top of that, we can import the sound of this bit crusher into Serum on our wave cycle. So this is the theory video. I'm going to show you how to do it in the next one. So I tried to sample these at all different kinds of ways, or this sounded in all different kinds of ways to find the best way. The first thing I tried was I tried working at the frequency of a single 2048 cycle at 44.1 kilohertz sample rate. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you need to watch some of the previous videos where we go into depth about the theory of creating single cycles. So I first tried F-1 with 23 cents down, and I tried sampling the wave in 3 different ways. The first, I got just 1 whole cycle. The second, I got a cycle and a half, and that's 1.5 cycles, you can see. And in this one, nope, that's not it. And in this one, we have 2 cycles. So what's the difference? Well, I have them right here. This is F-1 at 1 cycle. You can see inside of Serum. It's just 1 single cycle right here. And how does that sound compared to the master? This is the original one I used. Well, not bad, but it lost some of its definition. So I tried sampling at other intervals just to see what it would sound like. So this is at 1.5 cycles. And it adds a little bit of the brightness back, but it's not the right kind of brightness, because pretty much what's happening is we're using oscillator sync, and I can show you this right here. For whatever reason, the window is not showing up, but if I play this, you can hear it's the same as this one. And it's this waveform. I can show you, I can even turn it on. There, you can see there. So there's no real point in doing half cycles. You might as well just do full cycles, or like full integer cycles, because you can use sync to transform. And if you want to do half cycles, you can go into here and just divide in half and delete the other ones. So always sample single cycles, because you can transform them into other things. I mean, you can transform this just by cutting it off, but you know. Then I tried twice, and this does something weird. that you need to be careful about. You need to turn the octave down by 1 because you have twice the number of cycles in here, so it's twice the frequency. I just did this to see if there was any difference, and there's not. So there is no benefit, as far as I can see, to doing anything other than single cycles. I did another experiment with more cycles that I'm going to go over in a second, but you should pretty much stick to single cycles for this kind of thing. Okay, so next I sampled at F0 and negative 23 cents. The interesting thing about the math, if you've seen some of the other videos, is that you can just double or just go up an octave and keep the detuning on the oscillator the same, which is negative 23 cents at 44.1 kilohertz. And it pretty much stays, or it stays exactly within your the divisions that you can divide a frame into easily. So Serum expects 2048s. If you make one cycle at 2048 samples at F-1 with negative 23 cents, if you go up to F0 with negative 23 cents, then the frame size just cuts in half to 1024. So that's what I did here. I sampled at twice the frequency the frame expects, and then cut the frame in half. I'll show you 10, 24, and then I drag in F0, right? Yep, F0. And it's perfect, but if I'd done 1048, I think Serum has an override. If it looks like a perfect single cycle, then it won't let you change how you're doing it. 364, something really weird. Okay. So pretty much it just does things that are sensible. Like if you're at 2048 and you type in 1024, then it's like, oh, well, it's not really 1024 or 248. It's half or double. So it's sort of just taking care in case you're off by a factor of 2. All right. How does that sound? Pretty much identical to this. Wait a minute. Huh. I guess I wasn't paying close enough attention. So this sounds a little bit bassier. The bass is thicker than this one, which has like a more present high. And why is this? Well, I mean, when you use a lower frequency, it has a clearer picture of the upper harmonics. As soon as you start increasing the as soon as you start increasing the frequency of the fundamental, the upper harmonics start to bunch together, and it becomes harder to differentiate them and like remake them in Serum. So the lower a fundamental you get, I suppose the more accurate a sound you get. The high end sounds a little clearer and better, but the low end is thicker and more bassy on this one. Look at that. I have no idea. At 2x, it's because I'm clicking the wrong one. Duh. And that was the problem. So once again, it sampled at F-1. It's a little more clear in the high end. You know, I'm having a pretty hard time deciding which is the closest remake. The cool thing is if you go up high, you don't get that weird sound you get over here, which is awesome. And you can hear the high end sounds different on each one. That is kind of where this gets cool. So if I show you F1, which is twice at, God, what am I trying to say? Well, it's 1 octave higher, and the frame rate is half. What is more interesting? Oh, it's twice the rate of the note I'm trying to play, which is F0, I think. Yeah, when I designed this patch or whatever, this sound, it was at F0. So when we sampled at F-1, we were sampling at like twice the resolution. At F1, we're sampling at exactly the resolution of the note we're trying to capture. At F1, we're get twice the resolution. Did I say that right? F0 is the exact resolution. F1 is twice the resolution, and F2 is 4 times the resolution. So F1. I mean, it's starting to really not sound like it. It has a weird Brit Crush sound, but it's not really reminiscent of the original, except for maybe in the low end a little bit. But the high end is pretty cool. F2 is same, or yeah, F2 is same deal. So we're at 4 times the original sample, original frequency. And it's starting to sound pretty bad, but the high end is pretty cool, even compared to F-1. It has a little more character. And finally, I sampled it 4 times. I took 4 frames and put them into 1 at F2, kind of like I did down here at, oh wait, no, I didn't did I talk about this? No, I didn't talk about that. Oh, okay, so there was, well, the only other interesting thing I saw, and I tried to, when I was trying to perfectly capture this sound, is that at F2, there's a little bit of fluctuation in the wave. It's not exactly the same on every cycle. You can see right from the starting point here that the starting point is, when you restart, this ledge is down. It's even further here, and then it pops. Which am I grabbing? Oh no. Okay, here, and then it goes down, and then it goes down even further, and then it's on the line again. So I wanted to grab this whole thing and see if it would replicate the wave better, and it didn't. It sounds kind of cool, but when you start adding more than one cycle, it messes with your frequency, because the octave that replicates the sound the best is actually the 2 octaves lower than you want to be, and there's this like ghost fundamental you can hear down below that sounds crappy. Because really this sound wants to be up here. It wants to be up here, but we're cycling at a rate that makes it this fundamental, and it's just that some DSP weirdness. You know, this is how sound works. But the top end sounds awesome. So each method, you know, gives you a different reproduction of the sound. So, you know, this is a creative method, just taking sampling at different frequencies and seeing what they sound like when you pop them back into Serum because they sound different, each one. If you want a good reproduction of the original sound, you should probably sample the frequency either at or lower than what you intend to use it. So if you want if you want to sound at F3, then sample it below F3. If you want to sound at F2, sample it below F2. If you want to sample at F0, you pretty much or go to F-1. You can't really go below F-1, but always be at or below if you want clear reproduction. If you want creative interest, pretty much do whatever you want, but if you want to keep in tune, what is it? Be careful how many cycles you put in each frame. If you want to stay in tune, or if you don't want a lot of dissonance, if you're not careful, you can introduce dissonance if you don't have, especially a single cycle. Like single cycle is going to give you probably the least dissonance, and the more cycles you put in, the more dissonance you're going to get, and especially if they're uneven. Like if you put half a cycle or you put 5 cycles instead of 4 or 8. Musical things, like think about musical things. I think that does it. In the next one, I'm going to show you how I actually did this on a couple of effects.